Paul says, but I want you to know that the head of every man is Christ, the head of woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. And we've already talked about that before, but I want you to notice the authority structure that's set up in this verse, and between God and Christ, and then between Christ and then man and woman. And we'll look now at the man and the woman. He goes on in the later verses to tell us why in this period of time, from creation to the second coming and the judgment of all mankind and the end of the world, why there is this authority structure between men and women. He ties it to something. He says, for a man indeed ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God. I know you'll recall that we talked about this is about head coverings and that culture. So we really want to talk about that aspect of it, but the principles that are given in the discussion of this cultural issue. He says that man is the image and glory of God. The male is the image and glory of God, but woman is the glory of man. We talked about that already. And then he goes on and he says, for man is not from woman, but woman from man, nor was man created for the woman, but woman for the man. And so let's look at this structure, and then we'll have a few comments on it. You'll notice in the verse that God is the head of all, and this really refers to God the Father, what we call the fountain of the Godhead. God the Father is at the top. And then you have Christ. So God is the head of Christ. He is over Christ in authority. He is Christ's leader. And you'll remember that Jesus said that he only does the things he sees the Father doing. So the Father then is the leader and example, and that's a very key word in Christian leadership, to Christ. And then Christ here is the head of every man. You see that, but I want you to know that the head of every man is Christ. And so the man then, the male in the family, his direct guide or leadership or example is Christ himself. And then we have the head of the woman is the man. All right, so we have this leadership or authority structure given for us, and God gives us, Jesus gives us, the relationship between God and Christ as an illustration of the leadership relationship between a man and a woman in the family. And so when in the second set of verses here, when he gives us the reasons for the man being over the woman, he shows that in creation God had already revealed this in his thoughts. Do you remember that I told you that in creation you learn from what God did, not just what he said. So in relation to homosexual marriage, we see that God did not create two men or two women and give the man and the woman options. He created a man and he created a woman. And he is saying in that, this is my design. So when Paul looks back and he says that we'll look at creation and you see that the woman didn't come from the man, that the man didn't come from the woman, that God took a rib from the man and then he made the woman. That shows you that authority structure that God had implied from the very beginning. And he says that neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. And remember, I've told you that the woman is going to get, by and large, her meaning in helping the man in his role to subdue and bring creation under his control, under God. All right? So this is all we learn from creation. The apostles go back to creation, the first few chapters of Genesis, very often. But what I want you to see here is that God is over Christ, because the first thing that a feminist is going to say is that that makes a woman inferior. But it doesn't make a woman inferior. Remember, it's not about capability, it's about design. Women can fly F-22 Raptors. They're astronauts, engineers, academians, teachers. There's nothing that a man can do that a woman can't do, except for some physical things that women just haven't been physically built or created to do. But notice here he says that God is over Christ, and the woman and the man is over the woman. Now what I want you to see here is that God and Christ, we know that there are three persons in the deity. There's the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And we know that those three are one. And we know that they're equal in their nature, they're equal in their capabilities, and yet there is still a hierarchy or an authority structure over in that relationship. This is the same here. A man is over a woman in the Lord in this epoch, in this period of time during creation, until the final judgment, not because he is superior to her, but because God has chosen to make this the structure. This is right and proper in the Creator's mind, and therefore we must submit ourselves to that. It is not a shot at a woman or a criticism of a woman or a demeaning quality. Now, we can turn it and make it that, and certainly men have done that. But that doesn't make that right either. This relationship between a man and a woman is an authority relationship, a relationship of responsibility and accountability that mimics that between God and Christ. So you have to see that.